I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Christy Kimbrell. I've been a realtor for 20 years. I love doing this. I'm really passionate about it, and COVID has just forced me to do some of the things that I always intended to make time to do and just never did. So I'm excited to go through and help educate buyers in the process as they start to learn more about, the real estate market, what their needs are, and trying to figure out how they best navigate the home buying process. So feel free to let me know if you have questions along the way. I'll do my best to answer them. So let's see. Yeah, so my team, my team is the Exceptional Home Team. It's our great team. Here's a picture of everybody. So we're a full service real estate team. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. The team's been around for 16. Everybody's really passionate about helping and educating consumers and trying to help them build wealth through real estate. So our mission is to help make our impact and connection to our clients and community greater than that of the number of homes sold. So we're in it really for the long haul. We want to become your ally in real estate and a trusted source so that you know and trust exactly who to talk to when you've got questions. So what do you want to learn about the home buying process? If there's anything you specifically want to know about, feel free to put it in the question and answer box. Let me know if there's something you want to make sure we're going to cover. However, we are going to touch on what I feel and what we've felt over the years is that a well-rounded approach to you understanding the home buying process and actually what it means to buy a house in this market right now. So our agenda tonight is to talk about some of the fears versus facts of buying a home, the realities of the home market today, and then 6 simple steps to home ownership, what you can expect from the process, how we will help guide you through that if you choose to work with us, or really how any great agent would do that. There are a lot of agents out there that don't do this full time and may or may not have sold many houses. So it's important you get an expert or somebody that you really trust their knowledge, because it can be a sophisticated system and process, and we'll talk about that. So fear, I can't afford to buy a home right now. Well, the truth is that until you do the math, you really don't know what you can afford. And until you maybe check out your credit, you don't know what that's going to look like. So there are a lot of things that go into housing affordability, and it's best to just start asking questions directly rather than worrying about it. You might be surprised at what you can qualify for. Most people qualify for more than they're willing to spend or would feel comfortable spending. And yet some people are surprised that they maybe have more of a credit issue than they might like, and then we can help get you on a plan to correct it. So I should wait till the market gets better. Well, our market right now is amazing. It's fast. It's exciting. One of the nice things about being in a fast market is it tends to give our buyers some confidence. So they start to get a feel for it pretty quickly. When you fall in love with a house and it sells quickly, it starts to affirm what values are, and you feel comfortable spending. When houses sit on the market month after month, it's really tough to understand values and what things are selling for, and if you're getting a good deal by just the feel of it. So we try to help you along the way, regardless of the speed of the market, to help you understand where the best value is. But trust me, the real estate market is fantastic. Almost at all times, there is a reason to jump in, and usually there's a reason to jump out, or reasons. And so it's up to us to help understand your specific situation, to help you decide if it's maybe something you should wait on. We'll go through in this after this section a few things that would be good reasons to wait. So if you identify yourself there, but otherwise, it's really a good time to jump in. So I don't have the money for a down payment. Well, there's a variety of down payment options. They range, and we'll talk about that, from 0 to 20+%. And we'll talk about some of those, but you might, again, a lot of these fears are just based on, maybe what you've heard your friends talk about, or the changes that you heard mortgages going through in the past. And we want to make sure that you understand, and based on your current financial situation, the money you do need to save or have available in order to buy a house, so that, maybe you do have enough money now and you just don't realize it. You don't always need 20% down. And I have met buyers that believe they need that, which can take some time, and we'd rather get you into a home starting to earn some wealth and gain some appreciation, rather than waiting till you might save up $40,000 or $60,000, which could take a decade or two. So I can't afford to buy my dream home. That's probably true. That's what dreams are made of. We like putting together plans for our clients on how to get that dream home purchase for them in the long run. I put together 15-year plans for people of how to get them from point A, their starter home, if you will, all the way to their lake property or horse farm or ranch. A lot of people have really specific house dreams. Like, that's what the American dream is made of. And that's what we get passionate about helping you understand. So you're right. Maybe you can't afford your dream home today. But the best way to get closer to that and to create personal wealth is by getting into the housing market, becoming a homeowner if you're not one already. Okay, so I can't afford to buy a home because my credit isn't very good. Well, that might be true. There's a lot of options out there, and sometimes we do need to do credit repair. But again, it's kind of that knowing is half the battle. So we want to make sure that you do get the right information out, or the right information for you to make an informed decision on whether your credit worthiness is accurate right now. So I should wait until I'm certain about my domestic future. You don't have to wait before you're married or partnered or get ready to have children to buy a home. It is something that singles are doing. I bought my first house as a single person. I don't think the faster you get on the path, the longer it can pay, to help benefit your financial situation. I'm looking here, and you guys, I've got the wrong presentation. This slide was supposed to be edited, which it was, but I think I didn't grab the most up-to-date one. So give me 1 second. Final, I didn't grab the right one. It'll take me 2 seconds to pull this up instead. All right, so I'm gonna open this one, open with Google Slides. Isn't technology amazing? Okay. Hi, Linda, thanks for coming. Linda was on a couple weeks ago too. Welcome back to our workshop. This is gonna load in here in a second. I was just switching slides because this one didn't have all the things I wanted in it. So we're going to go ahead and present from the beginning and get this going. So I'm just gonna catch up real quick. You won't notice any differences, but there was a typo in that next slide. And how I know is we changed the picture. So we went through everything. Everything was word for word, but buying a home seems way too complicated. We do hear that, but that's why you partner with professionals like us that help you through that process, help make things easier so that we can help you make sure that you're making a good investment. And not only that, but helping to make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. And we usually, when you meet with us, we like to say, we're really good at answering the questions you don't even know to ask. So we're going to watch out for you like you're a member of our family. We'd give you the same advice we would our very best friend, so that you can make good transitions as you work your way through whatever your housing needs are, so that you can eventually build on, hopefully, or at least have some good secure, a roof over your head and feel like you've maybe moved on to some sort of equity position for you or your children. So then there's the last fear, which is I should pay off my student debt, my student loan debt before buying a home. Gosh, again, sometimes that can take decades. With home ownership being a big precursor to your personal wealth, it's a good idea to jump into home ownership as soon as you can afford it. And we'll talk about some affordability as well. So owning versus renting, by a show of hands, you're welcome to kind of raise your hand if you currently rent a home. Yep, great. So we're currently renting. We got some renters out there. And then go ahead, I'll lower all the hands. And then do you currently own a home? Okay, great. So then there's a few people out there that aren't sure how to work the buttons, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and this is the owning versus renting piece. So this will apply to some of you. Some of you have already learned this lesson by buying a home, but what you're paying in rent over 30 years is, can cost you, upwards of over $500,000, right? What you're going to pay to own a home, the monthly charges themselves can equal, right, $435,000. So there's about a $200,000+ savings just over that 30 years, but not to mention the equity that you gain and that you're left with an asset rather than with renting, obviously you don't own anything. You just helped pay for your landlord's property. So they appreciate that. I own a few rentals myself. It is a part of a stepping stone. So at some point, we all have to be renters, but it's just about understanding when we want to make that change so you can start building some wealth on your own. So then we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, so why hold off on buying? Some of the reasons you may want to hold off is if you are changing jobs or you may not have job security right now. I don't ever recommend jumping into home ownership when you don't feel that you have a solid reliability on your income. That's not a wise thing to do. Your credit score may be hurt from either, falling on tough times, or even, I've had it happen with a client where they had some fraud that wasn't their own, that just kind of messed with their credit. So we do need to get your credit right. There are some credit repair tactics that may surprise you. So you definitely want to get advice before proceeding down a plan to repair your own credit. You want to understand how credit works. And some of it is counterintuitive. So we do have some mortgage professionals that we work with that specialize in helping people adjust their credit score. The higher your credit score, usually the lower the interest rate you can get. So if you're in a predictable or a precarious situation where your credit score may be lower than you like, we can help you talk to somebody who can help you get it into an area where, even though you may be approved now, you might be able to qualify for a different loan program, different interest rate, and some credits or first-time home buyer benefits that may depend on those only with good credit. It's too expensive to be house poor. We don't want that for you. We're good at helping you try to talk through your budget. We don't want anybody to get into a home and start to feel like they can't afford some of the basics in life because their house payment's too large. There are some tactics around that, but we want to make sure that your income is not only secure, but it's going to cover the expenses. And then short-term ownership. If you're planning to be there for a short period of time, 1 or 2 years, right now it isn't the best time to hop into the market for 1 or 2 years. It rarely is a good investment because there are costs associated with purchasing, like closing costs, etc. And there are some costs associated with selling. So even though home prices continue to rise, over the last 10 years they have, even though that's happened, we want to make sure that they're going to rise at a rate where they're going to have that return. So we need the mortgage to have time for you to have paid some of it down, and we need the house to have had some time to appreciate, to create that gap in equity that you might be looking for. So depending on how long you're going to be living in a property, that would definitely influence our advice on whether we think that it would be a wise time for you to buy. So those are some of the things there. Sometimes people ask me about like what better month or time of year. In Minnesota, there's always reasons people buy, and there's always reasons to sell given any market. Our slowest time that homes sell is during the holidays. However, it might surprise you that nearly every other month is quite busy. April, May, and June are typically our busiest. However, I don't know that you really want busy either. So there's a lot of options, but there's also a lot of competition. And so it's just good to kind of understand and talk through with your real estate expert so that you understand how your unique situation might fit with timing. If you're looking for just a good deal, or you know that you maybe need to be able to buy a little more than maybe you can afford, we might want to look over the holidays when there will be less competition for those homes. And we might find some people who are really ready to make a cut and run before the snow flies, or in this tax year. There's some other motivators that make it so people don't want to hold on to their properties over the holidays, and they might be more willing to let them go at a lower price. So those are some of the things to consider when thinking about your timing. Okay, so now we go, why buy now, right? So if we look on the left there, we've got your closing date. From the date of closing, this image is going to look over 30 years and how you begin to build equity. So if you're buying a $250,000 house or a $200,000 house at this rate, right, you've got instant equity after the first year. You should start to have paid some down and hopefully see some basic signs of appreciation. After 15 years, you've got a certain portion of it paid down, as well as increased value that'll net you kind of a profit around $280,000 on average. And then after 30 years, even your modest home with general inflation, you're going to start to see a tangible asset that's going to help position you for, retirement years. And that might seem crazy, especially I know we've got some first-time home buyers here. And so it's hard to think of retirement, but that's how long the home is in play when it comes to building your wealth. And so it's important to kind of have that understanding and look at where you might financially be and how that can start to build. I can tell you story after story of people who have sold houses 7 years ago who now have, $200,000 of equity. Let me tell you, when you wonder how they buy those big, beautiful homes, it's just kind of doing that over and over. And then partnering with us to help make sure that each time you buy maybe the best property you can that not only fits your needs, but that we also think is going to have some decent appreciation and value and remain in high demand. Make sense? So we want to make sure that you understand all the intricacies that go into it and that you get to pick out the right home for you and your family. Interest rates are a reason to buy now. I feel like we've been saying this forever. Historically low, they still are. We keep waiting for them to change. I don't think that's going to happen for the next year, given everything that's going on. We're not predicted to see those go up. So you've got some time to do your homework before the fear of losing those interest rates could actually creep in significantly. And the bonuses to home ownership, if you owned a home in the past, right, your equity is going to build up. We already talked about that. Value of appreciation, paying down the debt, like we just talked about to the left. But then, stability and security, sense of community. There is something neat about the neighborhoods you might buy into. Then we've got freedom to customize, because as a renter, you can't really make changes. Tax benefits, and just general wealth building. And who doesn't like wealth? I mean, even if we don't necessarily care about money, there's a lot of good that money can do. So as long as you're in a position to be able to share it and benefit from it, we consider that a win here. Any questions so far, feel free to ask them. I know I kind of tend to talk fast. So if you need me to slow down, let me know. But we've got a lot to get through, so I'll keep going. So 6 easy steps to home ownership. First, you're going to select an expert. It might seem kind of obvious, but I am going to suggest that you hire us. However, I really want you to work with somebody that knows what they're talking about. If the person you're interviewing can't talk as thoroughly as I'm talking about now about the home ownership process, what interest rates are doing, how we create wealth, and they aren't asking a lot of questions of you, you've got the wrong person. There is on our website a list of questions to ask an agent when interviewing. So if you feel the need to interview, or maybe you had somebody in mind that maybe you're not so sure of right now, there's a guide to how to find a great realtor on our website. We're happy to answer those questions as well. So after you find a realtor, and I want to get to, some people say get a loan first or have the financial questions first. Both of those could be done at the same time. And it's never too early to do that. It's never too early to talk to an expert like myself or my team and find out what you can get for your money, what kind of homes are out there, and understanding the process. It's also never too early to talk to a mortgage person to understand what you need to do to qualify for the right loan. Often you might find it's going to take you a little longer, or you do need to save up more money than you had hoped. So we want to secure a pre-approval. So those two things happen somewhat simultaneously, and that process can be anywhere from a week to 12 months typically. And that just depends on someone's speed and when they engage in the learning process. So step number 3 is you're going to find a home. My dog just opened the door, so you may see him walk around the desk. I'm going to have to shut the door. Hold on one second. And then you're going to make an offer and negotiate after you find one. And you're going to get the home inspected. We do help you get the home inspected and, suggest the right inspector. You can certainly bring in your own. And if you're handy, or your spouse or significant other is, or immediate family member, you don't have to hire a separate formal inspector. It's not required. That's one of the few costs associated with you as a buyer outside of the mortgage, or from meeting or having this meeting now until closing. Your home inspection is going to be your one cost. There is also earnest money, which we will cover a little bit later, but that actually is a portion of your down payment that you may bring and pay upfront at the time of the offer. And that's refundable at certain steps of there's the dog, at certain steps of your offer with either inspection contingencies, meaning if the inspection doesn't go well, you get your money back. And then also with like financing contingencies, meaning if your loan doesn't go through, you get that money back. So it's kind of an upfront payment. It's not an additional cost. If you have the home inspected, that usually costs about $400 or $500. It doesn't go well. It does, you know, we try to negotiate repairs and we can't come to an agreement and you walk away. You don't get that inspection money back, but you do get your initial upfront, what's called earnest money back. So just something to watch out for. And then we're gonna close and you'll become a homeowner. So that's the exciting part. That's it in a kind of a nutshell and overview of what the process looks like. So how to select an expert. We talked about that a little bit. So selecting your expert agent. As your agent, we educate you on the market, analyze your needs. We're gonna steer you towards homes that fit your criteria, help you keep track of that criteria. A lot of times there's a saying amongst realtors that says buyers are liars. I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand where it comes from, because buyers that when we meet can say one thing that they really want, and in the end they can end up buying something totally different. That's because home ownership is very typically, or selecting a home is usually very emotional. The decisions can be made off of some emotional decisions, your love for it, the location. All these things can all of a sudden come into play when we have this logical list of criteria. Sometimes once we start looking at homes, you can start to adjust that, and the things you thought were important weren't as important again. And so we're going to help you, remind you of that criteria you came up with. Help organize your thoughts during showing so that we can, you know, remember you said you want to be within 15 minutes of work. This is 30 minutes. Is that okay? Ultimately, it's up to you to be able to decide if that is okay with you or not, to start to adjust your criteria. And that's where we're going to start to adjust the home so that we can stick with you along the learning process of what ultimately will become the list that makes the final cut. So we're going to coordinate the work with all the professionals that are involved. There's so many moving parts to buying a home, and that's what having a professional realtor really does, is they look for trapdoors along the way and help navigate you around them, as well as coordinating with all the players so that it is a smooth process, because ultimately that's what we all want. We're going to negotiate on your behalf. So we're going to negotiate to get you the best deal that's around, help you understand when you're getting a good deal, and help you understand when you might not be getting a good deal. The deal of it is not always what's important to people. I've certainly had plenty of clients that when they find the right home are willing to overpay by just a little bit to secure it. They know they're going to be there a long time, and they're okay. You know, in the end, it all just kind of goes out with, you know, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but it all kind of just starts to swish together. And so if you paid an extra couple grand at the time of purchase, if it means the next 20 years of happiness for you and your family, because it's within 3 doors down of your mother, that's totally different. Not the way I would do it, but that's up to you. And then we're going to problem solve any things that may arise. Our goal is to not have things arise, or even, you know, maybe that you won't know that things arise, so that we handle them without having to disrupt, which can be a both exciting and yet sometimes stressful process for our home buyers. So securing your pre-approval and financing, you're going to want to do that. Getting pre-approved, you'll get a formal application with the lender, a commitment letter. That's what the lender provides. It makes you stronger in multiple offer situations. It's almost impossible to get a purchase agreement accepted if you don't have a pre-approval. So we want to make sure that you have, you know, an understanding of what your money can get you when it comes to buying a home. So what you can afford, right? What your affordability is, where that is comfort level with your budget. And then also making that happen with whether it's conventional, FHA, and understanding what loan product's right for you. So that's what the pre-approval process can do. There is a bonus with Keller Williams. I don't know if I said that at the beginning, but I am an agent with Keller Williams. Anytime you're with an agent on either side of the transaction, even if you're buying a listing that's by a Keller agent, and let's say you don't work with me, but you work with an independent broker, you can take a benefit of Keller Mortgage. Keller Mortgage was designed to be a benefit directly to the client. So they set it up where it's a win, where it's going to save you thousands of dollars because they don't charge any lender fees. Not to be confused with closing costs. There are still costs associated with closing. Some of the fees cannot be waived. However, there's no mortgage fees. So you might still have escrows and prepaids and title charges. And if you don't even know what those words are, just understand there's still going to be some costs associated outside of your down payment. However, we will go through that together, and this still offers you, as an example there, right, $5,000 to $7,000 of savings, just depending on how much money you're borrowing. So that's always a benefit. You know, creating a budget, I think that's something that we don't talk about enough as Americans. A lot of my clients, unless they're really living paycheck to paycheck, don't really understand what they spend or what their monthly expenses are. So if you're in the process of just beginning to figure that out, I highly encourage you, if you're going into a larger payment and you don't have, let's say you've been having roommates and you're looking at buying a home, if you haven't already been making a payment that size and you're 6 to 12 months out, why don't you start making that payment just into a separate bank account? See how it feels. If you don't want to sit down and go through the spreadsheet of your budget, just start making the payment somewhere. And do you feel like you run out of money? You know, let's have you making the payment so you can understand how it's going to feel, and before you're actually committed to it for the next number of years, because the last thing we want is for you to feel house poor. Okay. So identify your expenses, determine the amount you can comfortably spend on your new home, and then make some simple adjustments. You know, maybe you start looking at, maybe I can do my own hair or my own nails, or I can do some DIY projects at my house. I don't need to go to the gun club anymore. As you can see, I'm trying to pick out a variety of gender neutral or both sides of the fence activities, but there might be some things you're spending that you wouldn't have to, or you'd be willing to sacrifice in order to create some more room for your new home. So just something to make sure that we keep ahead of, and that as you go into this, you have a clear understanding of what your expenses are. So your down payment, we talked about this briefly and I mentioned it, but your down payment can be 0 to 20% plus. So it's really important you talk to a mortgage professional to understand what's going to be required of you. And at the lower down payments, are you okay with what that does to your mortgage rate and payment? Anything less than 20% on most loans is going to require mortgage insurance. If you don't know what that is, we can cover that later or ask your lender. And the 0 down is really just available for VA loans, which is like the veterans loans. If you've served in the military, there are some benefits there that you can take advantage of. Maintain your pre-approval. We do have this happen from time to time where people don't quite understand. They're buying a new house. They go, maybe their car, you know, they have a problem with their car. They go buy a new car, or they go buy some furniture because they're excited. Don't change your job. No big purchases. The least activity on your credit, the better. If you currently have a mortgage and it's in forbearance, if you do have that situation, feel free to raise your hand. Either way, I'm going to talk about it, because you cannot get a loan if your current loan is in forbearance. With COVID, they've offered this to almost anybody willing to take them up on it, which there's no problem with that, but just make sure that you pull it out of forbearance, or you wait until after you're back and in full swing with your loan and making some consistent payments before you then look to close on your new one, because we don't want any hiccups to happen at the closing table because your lender didn't understand you haven't been making your payments for the last few months. That is not a recipe for success. Okay. So step 3, find your home. We want to help you find it. That's the fun part, right? It's fun. We get to look for a new home. We're going to learn about the market, define your needs and wants, and then we'll continue to refine the search. And I already mentioned that in the slides before. So it says my app, but make our app your home base. So we can send you our app, which is going to help be a guide, help you search for properties, hyper-local insights, which are going to help you understand neighborhoods better. And you can create some collections so that you can collaborate with maybe your partner who's helping you purchase, and certainly us as your realtor. It's a good communication platform. So you can go to the Exceptional Home team, best real estate app ever, and download that. I will put it here. I will say I haven't checked this. Let's see if I can put it in here. Dismiss, polling, annotate more. Can I do a chat? Oh, I can. Okay, so to all panelists and attendees, here's the link. So it's in the side. If you have your chat bar open, feel free to click on that link and see where it takes you, but don't lose me. Make sure you understand how to get back. So we want to make sure that you, if a middle of the night questions comes up, that you have a guide that has real-time information on your transactions so you can see kind of what's happening, and then also help you as a search tool. So feel free to click on that. Then we're going to go to the next slide. So who's been looking for houses so far? Show of hands. Anybody out looking? Great. Okay, so yeah, you guys have gotten out and started looking at some properties, so fantastic. So, you know, what is your job versus what's the agent's job? So you're gonna look for, right, layout, space, location, right, how close is it to work or school, you know, different features and amenities. What we're going to look for as your realtor is how it compares in value, potential resale opportunities or obstacles, maintenance and repair items. We're going to point those things out, and we're going to really help you find the next home. So hopefully we're helping you to identify where it is and showing you homes that aren't on the market yet, so you can get a little bit of an advantage in what is right now a seller's market, meaning there's a lot of buyers competing for the same property, which is okay. It's just the facts, right? So making an offer and negotiating, that's something that we're really good at. We understand how to help win in multiple offers, how you're going to outperform the competition. And honestly, if you aren't ready to roll up your sleeves in this market in those entry-level price points, meaning go in with an aggressive price you feel comfortable with, waive certain contingencies. It's going to be a challenge for you to potentially get the right home or your first choice home. It's possible we may make 2 or 3 offers before we end up finding you that forever home. And yet we haven't found it. We haven't run into anybody yet who we can't find a home for. So never fear, there's just a little bit of a learning curve there as we navigate multiple offers on many levels. So with making an offer, we're going to send a price in. That offer is going to usually reflect the true market value of the home these days. So there isn't necessarily a time right now where we're lowballing or throwing out low offers just to see if they'll take it. There's usually not that much opportunity for timing, and there's usually more competition that's going to make that very difficult if we're just wanting to come in with low offers. There's definitely markets for that. This just isn't one of them. So we're going to look at the terms of your offer. We'll talk to you about some of the things we do to protect you when you're offering and create those contingencies I mentioned, as well as some of the ways to help you win in multiple offers, so that you do have the best offer you feel comfortable with to put forward, and hopefully helps win the property for you. Inspections and repairs. So typically an inspection, after you present the offer, we negotiate price, and then we do an inspection. Because you're starting to spend money, we want to make sure that you understand how much you're paying for the home and that you can get the home at a price you're willing to pay before you go spending money on an inspection. So it might seem a little counterintuitive, but we don't want you spending money on a property that you may not stick with. So the property inspection is going to look at structural damage, hidden issues, things we weren't aware of. It's going to point out deferred maintenance. In most homes, there's deferred maintenance. So you just want to understand the gamut of things that can come, or the array of things that can come up, which might be, the smoke detector needs batteries, all the way till the corner of this basement is leaking, or it's showing signs of moisture that maybe weren't disclosed. Those are 2 very different issues, and we do want to make sure that we address all the larger major issues that we couldn't see at the time of offer, and continue to talk to the seller about that to see if we can negotiate who will make the repairs. Are they willing to reduce the price as a concession, or do we need to go our own separate ways because we just can't come to an agreement? And we'll help you through that process. So we don't want to sweat the small stuff, right? It's the big items that matter. Mold issues, right? Plumbing or electrical safety problems, age of shingles that are going bad, right? Water stains, things that are dripping. Those are things we really, really need to make sure get corrected. It's not listed here, and I don't think it's in this presentation, but you might have heard of radon. It's important to get a radon inspection, if not for you, because the people that are coming behind you when you go to sell it will ask. It's really common. If your realtor hasn't talked to you about it yet, or you haven't heard of it, definitely ask some questions. It's standard for us to recommend to all of our clients, so it's not something we really get into at a high level here, but it is part of the inspection process. So we want to make sure that we get the big things considered. Step 6, and I'm flying through this, you guys, so bear with me. I know I'm talking fast. Let me know again if you need me to slow down, and feel free to ask a question. So step 6 is closing, right? We're gonna bring certified funds to closing. Closings have changed tremendously in the past 8 weeks. I used to go, the lender would go, the buyer and seller would go, we'd sit around the table and everyone would sign, and we'd pass, you know, the mortgage company would send a check, and all these things would happen. You'd get keys, you get to ask questions, and now it's very different. We don't meet anymore. I'm no longer allowed to go. We do end up just having, and some of it we can sign remotely, but we still have to go face-to-face in Minnesota in order to get things signed. The closers can meet you at your car. We can do social distancing. We can do it outside. There's a lot of ways, but it's just changed definitely since last time you bought a home. So you're going to get at that time a settlement statement, which is like your closing disclosure. It used to be called a HUD. And that's going to be the list of expenses, the list of like the mortgage that's brought in and all the fees. You're going to get a transfer of clear title, which is usually in the form of a warranty deed for most properties. And then you're going to get keys to your new home, which is exciting, right? It's move-in day. In our state, as soon as you go to closing, the next moment in most purchase agreements, that's the way they're written, that you get possession immediately after closing. So usually people show up in their like sweaty clothes because they've been packing and moving all day, and they're going to go from one property and move right into the next. So that's the fun part. So we are rounding out on our presentation here. I've just got 1 or 2 more pages. So protecting your investment. My team and I, we get really excited about staying in touch with you, helping you with maintenance, keeping an eye on it. This got a little big for the screen here, so I'll fill it in. But we want to watch for little problems. You want to get ahead of any little problem you might see and not let things go too long to where they fester and change and create bigger problems. Keep a file of receipts, keep good history of what's happened, and that so that you know what's happening with your property and can pass it on to another owner at some point. And then the warranty, you could consider a home warranty. We do have companies that offer those. My team doesn't make any money if you buy one or anything like that, but some people find it helpful in the first year to help buffer some, uncertainties or things that might break down that would throw their budget off whack. We want to make sure that you've got some protection, and there are home warranties. And you definitely can ask for it during your purchase agreement. As long as you're not on multiple offers, then you can do that. So I have a great question here. Will I be sending the link to this talk? We will. We will download and send this link out. And make sure that we have, that you've got a copy of it so you can watch it back. I know some people chimed in late, so we definitely will share it. We want to make sure that we've answered all your questions. And certainly if you weren't here and you have a question, it's okay to ask it. I try to keep these to about a half an hour. Some of them I've seen go hour and a half from other agents, and I talk way too fast for that. It's way too much information. But I do love talking about it, so I'm happy to answer your questions. And then it's just time to get started. It's not too early for us to meet, for us to sit down and talk specifically about your unique scenario. If you've got questions about forbearance and what that is, if you need a market analysis on your home or want to understand the home selling process, we do these classes every 2 weeks. Next week, or 2 weeks from tonight, I'm going to talk about how to buy and sell at the same time. So for those of you who currently own a home, you definitely want to attend that. We'll talk about the timing, how to match that up, what you do to kind of the chicken or the egg scenario, right? How do I buy when I need to sell and vice versa? So we'll talk about what that looks like and answer any questions you might have. Here's another question, which thanks for sending it over. What is the new necessary score to get my home heated? The score, heard the score changed from 650. So to get a home, I believe that the score changed from, well, there used to be 580s, and I know that 620 is the new minimum, and it was 6. So I do not believe that it's 650. I just had a client last week who was struggling to get it to 620, and that was our benchmark. So I'm going to answer 620 to that. If you want to email me directly at Christy Kimbrell, I'm going to put it in the chat box, christykimbrell@kw.com, and my phone number is this. And you can text or email me your specific question, and I'll make sure a lender or myself get back to you. So I would, that's a great question. What other questions do we have? I guess I didn't address this. Good question. Typical closing time. So when we write an offer, it's common that the closing date from the date you write it is going to be about 35 to 40 days. It used to be about 30 days, but we've got the inspection days in there, and that tends to get a little long. And with all the lenders being as busy as they are, I'm going to say we're right around 40 is our average. 30 is pretty fast. You have to do a real fast process with your inspection or get the lender started ahead of time. So that's something you can expect. Another question, if your lease is up, when to start looking? So it's never too early to start looking. If your lease is up and you want to move, let's say your lease is up at the end of September, just to pick a date. Ideally, then you'll want to close maybe the middle of September. When you're coming out of a rental, it's the only time that you'll have to essentially have extra time to move. Otherwise, you're doing it all in one day. And so when you do that and you have a middle of September closing, that gives you 2 weeks to move your stuff or paint the new house or do some changes if you want. So September 15th, that means we're making an offer that would probably be the first week of August, where you would have found the right home. That means you might want to start looking in June or July. So if your lease is up or you plan to move by the end of September, you really should start looking now. I would say you should start looking now if you plan to move this year in 2020. That would be my advice. I got another question. What's a good down payment to save up? Well, there's a lot of different ways to look at that. Mortgage person is going to answer what your personal required down payment is going to be, and sometimes that's based on credit score. 3.5% down is typically the lowest normal amount of money. That's an FHA loan, and let's just say our average sale is $250 or the median sale price. If we're at 3.5%, that's $8,750. So therefore, I would say you want at least $10,000 in your bank account. I'm a big believer in a small cushion at least, or having extra, even $12,000 in your bank account so that you don't go broke day one paying for it. Moving can be expensive. You've got trips to Target or Amazon orders if we're staying socially distant. So it's just, there can be some extra expenses that can come up. Yep, good question. Here's another one. I've been told by many people that there are first-time home buyer and single mom grants. Is that true? Or little to no down regardless of credit? So that's another great question. And I'm going to do one where I have my lender on with me, and I thought about having them and I didn't. So there are first-time home buyer credits. I am not aware of single mom credits, but that doesn't surprise me that there could be some out there. So if you will send me a text or an email directly, I will get you that answer specifically. And typically the lowest down payment is about 3% unless you're in the military. I haven't heard of anything lower than that for the common citizen like myself. So good question. How about all the other fees outside of down payment? Yes, there are some. We covered that a little bit when I was talking about the amount of money down. There are some lenders like Keller Mortgage that don't have, that have minimal fees at closing. And what you may have heard of, and I'll bring this up a little bit, but it can get confusing, seller paid closing costs. So there is a way to roll them into the loan so that the seller pays for them. Now, they don't usually pay out of the goodness of their heart, but you can, let's say the house is $250,000 and you have $5,000 of fees in there that you don't want to bring to closing on top of your down payment. We could offer $255,000 and ask for that seller to pay those fees, and that is allowed. And that's how we start to limit or keep that amount of money down so that you don't have to get rid of so much cash when money is so cheap to borrow. Good question. Let's see, one more. How about all the other things? Okay, so I answered, I believe, all the questions. You guys want to know how much payment? Raise your hand if you want me to do a sample payment at $250,000. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm gonna, my assistant will kill me for not going to my website, but I'm not going to because it leaves a tiny part out. Okay, so ignore that guy drinking coffee. We're gonna do $250,000 and I'll do 3.5% down payment. And typical interest rates right now are gonna be like 3.125. This is gonna be a common property tax, and this is gonna be insurance. This PMI is your mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance is what it stands for. And we're gonna say your first payment due is July. We're gonna hit calculate. Your payment is gonna be $1,513. And your total monthly payment, why does that say until, I don't know why it goes down by $80. Oh, I see, because of January 2028, maybe the mortgage insurance drops off after 8 years or something like that. So then that would go away. That's gotta be mortgage insurance dropping off. So that can happen, and you can refinance your mortgage insurance away. And to do that, you just need to prove you have 20% equity. But otherwise, there's a small amount of money in there because you don't have 20% down that you end up paying. So in this equation, it's what, $105 of mortgage insurance. So that's how that's calculated. So property insurance, there's your PMI. I rounded up to $105, and this is how it's broken down. So this, in most cases, is less than rent. Rents in the Twin Cities have gotten quite high. And then we can also do, let's do $350,000. And let's just assume that you're at 5% down. I don't know why, just to do a different number. You're going to be at $1,900 a month, $1,943. As you can see, jumping up $100,000 changed your payment by $400. That's because money's so cheap right now. So it is something to really understand. If you've got sticker shock from what you've been approved for and you're not sure how that goes into this payment, you can use this here. I will show you on my Exceptional Home Team page. Let's just go to here, see if I can find it. We do have a mortgage calculator, free stuff, events, our team, location, sell, buy. I bet it's under buy. That makes sense, right? Yeah, there it is on the side. So down payment, interest rate, right, should default to 3. Oops, you don't need to register. It won't make you, just clear it off if you don't want me to call you. If you register, I'll call you. And then you hit calculate, and it gives you the payment. And the reason I said I didn't like it is it doesn't have taxes or insurance in it. You click this button and it kind of brings you to something that looks like that so you can understand, but you're still missing taxes and insurance. And that's a big part of it. So that's how you might do that regularly. Any other questions? I'm trying to think of what you wouldn't ask or what you're not asking. We talked timeline, actual payments, when to start looking, what the process is, how to get pre-approved. Entry-level price for homes. Oh, I heard you can shop around for best insurance. Yes, you absolutely can, and you should. You also should shop around for your best lender, right, and fees. I've got 2 of the best lenders that I feel like I in my business have found people that have great customer service, great rates, and low fees. So I think that my two people are wonderful. Feel free to text or email me if you want their information. And you can certainly shop around for best insurances. I've got a connection with State Farm and then an insurance broker who then has different insurance companies, so you don't have to necessarily do the shopping around. So again, if you'd like that information, feel free to grab that, shoot me a message and I'll send it off. Let's see, I thought of something else while I was talking. Insurance rates, speed, I do better when I think of it. How much do you need to put down to pay off PMI? 20% for no PMI. There are some loans, and you should check, there's some new loans where they have like 10 or 15% down, and the bonus is no PMI, but usually there's a slightly higher interest rate for that, which the interest rate is permanent, right? And so you have to look at how long you plan to live there and what that might do. There are some things to look at with paying off homes early, paying extra payments. There's some really cool calculators out there that can help you understand, maybe you should do a 15-year loan or a 20-year, but that does jump the payment up quite considerably. So watch this on a basic level. You go to a 15-year loan and $1,600. So it's an extra $600 a month from the $1,000. So it's 50% more. It does save you a lot of money, but so changing the terms around. I just actually refinanced and did a 10-year ARM on mine, which is an adjustable rate mortgage. I don't usually recommend that for my clients, but to be honest, am I going to be in this house longer than 10 years? Probably not. My youngest is in second grade. So when she's a senior, I'm probably downsizing, and I'm okay kind of knowing that I need to do that, or having the payment adjust for 1 year, and my husband and I feel that that's as long as we'll be in this home. And so we did that. We got a much better rate. You can look into some of those things if you understand your planning to where your family and your life is at, to where you want to go. There are different loan products around, and we can help you analyze that. And my loan officers are fantastic at interviewing and having that same process that I have at giving you good sound advice on what might be the best suited, loan program for you, for sure. And as I mentioned, regards to PMI, you can appraise it away. So if you put down 5% and in 4 years you feel your home's value is up to a point where you have 20% equity, meaning if you bought a home for $250, let's see, it needs to be worth at least $312,000. As long as you can prove it's $312,000 now, PMI can go away. And that's just calling your lender and telling them what you're trying to do, and they'll help you do that. Any other questions? You guys have been wonderful. I love all the questions. Okay, so I think we've answered them all. You have my contact information. I'm happy to have you reach out. Texting is the fastest. I answer my emails regularly or daily, right? Every 12 hours or so I get through all my emails. Texting is immediate pretty much, as long as I'm not with a client. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Please follow us and like us on Facebook and Insta. You'll find us the Exceptional Home Team and myself, Christy Kimbrell. We'd love to connect and stay part of your home search and that learning process that you're in. The fact that you're here tells me you're serious about at least your knowledge, which that's just fantastic. And I hope that if you found this valuable, you'll share it with one of your friends. We're going to do these every 2 weeks on Tuesday night. The format is going to change a little bit every week, so hopefully you guys can keep getting value out of it and become better educated on the home buying process, investments, how to buy and sell at the same time. And we just want to make sure that we're a good resource for you. So feel free to leave us a review if you liked it. We're looking to be the best home buyer workshop in the Twin Cities. That's our goal. So feel free to let me know what we could do to do better or cover more. Again, I've been told I talk fast, so I was working on slowing down, but if it was still too fast, let me know. I want to get you the right information. That's what's important to me. So you guys have been lovely. We will send out this recording. Let me know if you have questions. I will talk to you hopefully soon. All right. Bye, guys.